Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and this is the fourth of a series of basic Python programming course. I'm Sarjun, and you can call me Sarj. I'm a data scientist, a data science trainer, and a mentor to the youth. Before we start, I would like to reach out to you to help me with my socials, as I'm trying to reach out to many people as possible. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, subscribe, drop me a DM, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Now, getting back to today's portion of the lecture. Okay, you all should know how I get to this page, right? This Jupyter Notebook, basically from your Anaconda prompt, you should be able to activate your Jupyter Notebook. If you do not know, please go back to the previous sessions, and you should be able to maneuver to this page. Okay, today we're going to be looking at operators. Okay, so operators. There are a few types of operators in Python programming. There's arithmetic. We already covered arithmetic to some extent in the previous lecture or the previous video. Then there's relational, there's logical, membership, and bitwise. Okay, let's start off with arithmetic operators. Okay, the common types of arithmetic operators, we know addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, floor division, and exponentiation. Please do note that you can do different types of arithmetic operators with different variable types or data types in a sense. So be careful how they work with each other, right? Let's start with addition. Let's initiate a variable called income, and let's set it to 100,000. And let's do one with incentives and set it to 10,000. And let's do a combine of a summation, otherwise known as addition, with income plus incentives. Oops, it's plus. I don't know why I just underscore. Let's delete this. Okay, plus incentives. Then we display, print, total income, and we look at the type of it as well. Simple, right? When we run this, you should get 110,000 and class integer. So basically, two integers add together, the outcome is integer. Not surprising, right? Let's try the same thing, but this time changing the incentives from 10,000 to 12,550 and 50 cents, right? So let's Control C, Control V. Okay, I don't want to type this also. Control C, Control V. Simple, right? Let me change this value to 12550.50. Simple. And let's see what is the outcome when you add a float and integer variable together. Not surprising, it's a float, right? Because you know that when you add a float to an integer, the outcome is a float. Now, addition of two strings. Okay, addition of two strings is quite straightforward. It just concatenates both the string. So simply let's assign a first name equals to Mike, second name, surname equals to, not second name, surname equals to Anderson. Some matrix fans out there, I think the name Anderson would make sense if you all are following matrix. First name plus, so this is how I'm concatenating. Instead of, I'm adding a space in between so that when I concatenate, there's a space between Mike and Anderson, right? And I display the full name and the data type as well. So print full name and print the type of full name. Again, it's as simple as that. Let's run this. So Mike Anderson is the name, and the class is of string data type. Not surprising. What if I add two strings using the plus option with numbers in quotes? So let's try this out. Let's try text equals to age is, this time I leave a space, and then my age. Okay, it's not a number, it's a string because I'm encoding it in a string, and I call it combined text equals to text plus age. Simple, right? Now I will print this out. Print combined text. So it's wrong. It's combined text, not combined text, right? You can call it whatever you want to call it. I'm just trying to be consistent here. Print the type of combined text. Simple. When you run it, age is 25, class is of string. So it's easy. So easy addition examples. Let's try subtraction. This time around, let's do income equals to 345, 100,000. Tax equals to 2500, and total income. A lot of income statements. Income. If you're in the finance world, I think you'll relate very much to what I'm doing. Income minus tax. Right now, print total income and the data type for total income. Not surprisingly, it's 97500 and class is of integer. Now let's move on one step. Let's do a subtraction of an integer and a float. So let's do the same thing, income as well. Let me Control C, Control V, and Control C, Control V. Simple. Let's scroll down a bit. Okay, with that said, let's change this to 0.72. The text has some text values. I don't know, sometimes when I have text, I have to pay like point something. There's, they have this calculation behind the zero. So it's like I missed out. It's 2550, 0.72, right? Okay, this is not my text figures or anything, it's just random numbers. So please do not assume I'm earning so much, Okay, you can see that this value is 97449.29. Class is of float. Easy. Now, moving on to subtraction of two strings. We could add two strings, but subtraction of two strings don't make sense, right? You can't really subtract a string from another string, right? But just to prove it to y'all, I'm doing it. Sometimes it's better to try it out and then see, hey, it's not working, rather than just me tell you it doesn't work, right? So this is going to throw me an error. First name minus surname, okay? And then we're going to print full name, and then we're going to print the type of full name. That's it, right? You can see that it's an error because, as you can see, the operation of minus does not support in string and string variable. Let's move on. Multiplication. Okay, multiplication. Let's set unit price is equals to 20. Total units purchased is equals to 150. Let's find total amount is equals to unit price times total units purchased. Simple. Again, print out what is total units purchased and print the data type for total units purchased type. It's important to know this, because sometimes you ask me why am I doing it for every example. Why is it 150? Unit price is 20, total units purchased is not total units purchased. I'm supposed to print total amount. See? Sometimes when you keep typing the same thing, that's why when you teach, you have to be very careful, right? 3,000. Makes sense, right? Simple. Now let's try the same thing, but this time with a float and an integer, right? Let's try 22.5 for the unit price, and the same thing I'm going to do. So you should know the outcome should be a float, right? Straightforward. 3390. Oops, no wonder it's 5. I can put 6. 3375 and float. Okay, now let's try to multiply a string with an integer. Okay, let's assign value equals to Singapore. If you had not known, I'm from Singapore, right? And then let's set count equals to 3, and let's set results equals to value times count. and then let's display print result and print the type of result. So when you time a string by a number, what do you get? You get a string. So Singapore, Singapore, Singapore. It's actually a string that's concatenated. Or let's say concatenated 3 times. It's 3 times. 3 different strings are concatenated together as Singapore, Singapore, Singapore. Makes sense. What if you multiply a string by a string? In this case, we do the same thing. Let's go back up and copy this. I don't want to type it out again. And let's do the same, print the same results. As you can see, this is going to throw an error. I'm supposed to make this into a string, right? My bad. It's going to throw an error because when you use a string times a string, it doesn't understand. You see, it says, look at the error. Type error, can't multiply sequence of non-int of type string. Can't do that, right? Because both are string values. You can't multiply a string by a string, right? Doesn't make sense. Let's move on to division. Division basically is division of 2 integer variables. Let's set total cost equals to 2,000. Quantity, okay, if you're doing economics, you will relate to this very well because cost divided by quantity is equals to price, right? Price per unit equals to total cost divided by quantity. Simple. So let's do the same thing, print price per unit and print the type of it. Print the type of the data type so that you know what data type is it. So when you take integer times an integer, it gives you a float, right? Similarly, if I take one integer and one float, 250.75, and I do the same thing. I copy this and I paste it here. I get a float again, right? No difference, right? When I divide it, here's a float, here's also a float, no difference, right? Obviously, you cannot divide using a string divided by a number. It doesn't make sense again, right? It's not a valid operation, right? Let's just try, right? So that you know it's wrong. Sometimes you try and it works and you're like, huh? You'll be saying, I lied to you, but no, I'm not lying to you, right? Let me just show it to you, right? Service divided by value. It's going to show you, it's going to throw an error. So you just print result, and as usual, print the type of result. You know, it's an error. You can't unsupported operand type division for string and integer. Doesn't make sense, right? Let's use modulus to find the remainder. Okay, next step, we're moving on to modulus. Okay, let's set total cost equals to 2700. Quantity equals to 23. Price per unit, price per unit remainder is equals to total cost percentage QA quantity. Okay, then display price per unit. And after this, print the type as well, right? That's important. You need to know the data type, right? What data type is it, right? It's of class integer, right? It's an integer data type. Okay, I don't know why I use this twice here. Doesn't make sense. Okay, just one time, right? Okay, same thing. This time I want to divide a float over an integer. So instead of 27, I'm going to add a 0.50, and I'm going to print the remainder. So when there is a float, you know that your output will also be a float, right? The remainder, right? Now, when you want to get a quotient when you divide gives you a float, right? Let's try this. Total cost equals to 13000. Your quantity equals to 23. Your price per unit equals to total cost divided by quantity. right? Again, print price per unit, and then print type of price per unit. Simple. You can see that there's a decimal, right? What if you want to get the floor value? That means you want to get a rounded value, right? You don't want to get decimals, right? Same thing. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here. And I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to paste it here. But I'm going to make a slight change. The change is I'm going to change this division sign to a slash instead of 1 slash. When you see the output, it's 565. It's an integer. Well, this makes sense, right? What if one of the values is now a float, but I still want a floor value, right? Well, it still works. Just that your output is still a float. Your output is a float, but it's a floor value. Let's run this. Oops, sorry, I never changed it to a float. Yeah, now it's a float. As you can see, 565.0 is still a floor value, but it's a float value. Yep. Okay, moving on. Exponentiation. Let's assign square side equals to 20. If you're finding it hard to catch up, please do pause the video and do slow down, right? Because I got a lot to cover, so I'm trying to cover as much as possible. Let's find the area of the square. Area of the square is equals to, obviously it's square side times square side, but you can just do a star to the power of 2, which is power. Sorry for this. I touched the scrolling thing, so it just jumps. Okay, then you display the variable and the data type. So print area square and print the type of area square. Okay, so you should get 400 in class integer. Similarly, you should also get a cube side. Cube side, you should if you do the same thing, 20 vol cube is equals to cube side times 3, so it's 20 times 20 times 20, and you do a print vol cube, and you print the type of vol cube. Simple. And you should get 8,000 class integer. Okay, so that's basically some basic understanding about arithmetic operators. Let's move on to a quick practice. Take 5 minutes. Require the user to put 2 values. The first value is the length of the triangle. Second one is the height of the triangle. Right? Assign it to the variable height and length, and then you do a calculation and display the variable area output. Okay? Take 5 minutes to do this, and then we'll get back to this. Pause the video. I'm going to carry on now, but please pause the video. Okay. Let me look at this. Oops. Okay. Firstly, let's get the user to type in the height of the triangle. Height. Height is equals to, so remember it's supposed to be a float value, right? So float can be integer, but usually float value allows the flexibility of decimal points, right? So input, and then please enter height of the triangle, and then length is equals to float. Input, please enter length. It's as simple as that, right? So once that is done, you've got the 2 values. They're both in the required value. So area is equals to half, oops, not 9, 1 divided by 2 times length times height, right? Then you print the area is area. So you ask, so just say the height is 2, the length is 1, so it's half 2 times 1 is 1. Simple, right? Okay, let's move on to relational operators. Okay, relational operators, I think we covered that also earlier, the previous lecture, some part of it. We know that we can compare between two values. We can look at two values to compare. Basically, we are looking at less than or equals to, greater than or equals to, equal to or not equal to. Okay, so let's do a quick example. Let's set Kathy's age to 28, right? Let's set Kenny's age to 25. Okay, as I said, 1 equal is assignment operator. I think we know what we already discussed this. 2 equals are equivalent operator, equivalence. Okay, so we check the equivalence using a print function. So we just type print. We check whether checking Kathy age double equals to, does Kathy age equals to Kenny's age, right? Then you do a comma, you just type it out. See whether that's true. Kathy age double equals to Kenny age. You can definitely put a boolean around it. If you don't do it, it will still work. So when you print this out, it should give you a false. You can see it's a false. But you're supposed to do it for different values, right? So let me copy this and paste this here. But this time I'm going to check whether it's less than. So less than or equals to. So here you also must change it accordingly, less than or equals to. Let's do the same for the subsequent one where it checks more than or equals to. Again, here you have to change this as more than or equals to as well. And then you have to do just the more than, right? And just the less than. Right? And then when you run this, you'll see that Kathy's age is definitely not equal to Kenny's age because it's 28, 25, they're not equal. Kathy's age is also not smaller or equals to Kenny's age because Kathy's older. Kathy's age is definitely more than or equals to Kenny's age, that's true. Kathy is definitely more than Kenny's age, which is true. And Kathy's age is definitely not less than Kenny's age, which is false. Simple. That's all for relational operators. A simple example. Okay, take 5 minutes. Require user to put in two values. First value is age for Andrew. Second value is age for Anderson. Assign a variable Andrew age with input to enter age. Assign a variable Anderson age with input to enter age as well. Assign a variable result with Andrew age equals to Anderson age. Just checking whether they're the same age. Then display the result. Right? Simple. This is quite a quick portion of this code. Okay, so let's jump into it. If you want to take some time, I think take some time, pause the video and then do it, and then I'll go through. Right? Let's set this to Andrew age is equals to, let's set float. You can set an integer, but I'm setting it a float because I'm just giving the flexibility if they give it decimal numbers. Right? Please enter first person age. Okay. And then here, Anderson age is equals to float input. Please enter second person age. It's as simple as that. Now, you want to set results is equals to, you can do a bool, right? Andrew age double equals to Anderson age, and then you display result. You run it, the first person age, let's put 20, second person, let's put 20. It's true. They're both equal to each other. Simple as that. Let's move on. Membership operator. Okay, when we look at membership operator, it checks whether a value is a member of a sequence, of which it may be a list, a tuple, or dictionary. Don't worry too much about what's a list, or tuple, or dictionary, but just understand this, right? The in operator checks if a value exists in a sequence object or not. The not in operator checks to see in an opposite direction, opposite way, whether the in operator, as in the not in operator, evaluates the true if the value is not in the specified sequence. So not in means it will return true if it's not in, right? It's like if you're in, if you're at home, you say yes. If you're not in, are you not in at home? So it's like you're not at home, right? If you're not at home, then it's true. If you're at home, then it's false, right? It's just a different way of phrasing and the kind of response you get. It should be different, right? So let's assign a variables called vowels. We call this vowels equals to A, E, I, O, U. These are vowels. Check if the character U is present in the vowels of A, E, I, O, U. So it's quite simple. We use the in operator. The in operator allows that ability to do that. So let's just try that out. So print whether, want to check whether the operator U, not U, U, small one, not capital, U in vowels, right? So when we run this, it gives you a true. So U is in the word vowels. As A, E, I, O, U, U is in the word vowels, okay? Let's try this out again. Vowels equals to A, E, I, O, U. And what we do is we set whether, see whether X is inside there. So I'm going to copy this. Let's check whether X is inside here. Obviously, X should be a false. And it's a false because X is not inside A, E, I, O, U. What about the not in operator, right? So this should be quite simple, right? So let me just copy this and paste it here and here as well. I think I'm going to use it later as well. And I'm going to check whether you know the Jackie Chan comedy, you, you know, you, me, you. It's quite funny, that one. If you're going to see this, it's rush hour if I'm not wrong. So you not in vowels. If you run this, false. Makes sense. U is in vowels, so if it's not in, it's false, right? Similarly, I can also do a X not in vowels, right? X not in vowels. It's giving me a true because X is not in vowels, so it's a true. It's not in vowels. Okay, take 5 minutes again. Require user to input two values. First value is the value input is as Michelle. You can use your own name, right? I'm going to use Michelle here. Second value is character input as E, and assign a variable value with input for name, assign a variable character for input for letter character, and assign a variable result with whether it checks whether the character in value or not. Then display the variable result output. Okay, take 5 minutes, pause the video, and do it. Try it first. See whether the character is inside the name. So you pass in first a name, and then you pass in a character, and check whether the character is inside the name. Instead of A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U is the example we did earlier. Now Michelle or whichever name that you want to put in, you want to check, right, whether that character is inside there. Obviously, please use from the alphabet. Please don't use characters out from the alphabet, right? Gamma or what, all those Greek letters, no, please. Please use something that is inside the alphabet. Okay, so how does the code work? Let's do a quick one. Let's call value is equals to input. As you know, we want this to be a string. So we say, please enter value. And then character. Similarly, input. Please enter a character to search. Wow. Okay, and then result. Simple, right? Character. This will return a boolean in value. That's all. Print result. Right? Run this. And when you run this, let's make it clearer a bit. Okay, let's type Michelle, Michelle. I want to search for the alphabet, the input E. And it's true. E is inside the value Michelle. Okay, I think this is the last part already, right? Which is the bitwise operators, right? Yep, this is a bitwise operator. So bitwise operators are kind of similar to AND and OR, but you use what we call bitwise AND. We call this the AND, the ampersand function, and the OR is the pipe. right? The pipe is also used. So this is usually used in certain operations. Be careful where you use them, especially when you use NumPy and Pandas. Sometimes they work differently as well. And if you're using different tools like R and all that, they slightly differ. So just be careful when you use them. Okay, so these are good good examples to understand first, right? So bitwise AND, the binary AND takes two values and performs an AND operation on each pairs of bits at a time. The bitwise pipe, or otherwise, the bitwise pipe returns 1 even if one of the two bits of the two operands is one value. That means it's true, right? So truth tables for bitwise AND. So if input is true for 1, and this is AND, so true and true will give you true and false will give you false, false and true will give you false, similar to the earlier one on top, and then false and false will give you false. If it's OR, true and true will give you true and false will give you true, false and true will give you true, false and false will give you false, right? Similar to AND OR, right? Okay, let's do a quick bitwise AND operator. Let's assign a number NUM with 10, then display the equivalence of the output of modulus operator of num by 2 against 0 using a print function. So this is just, I'm just checking, okay, just checking using, this is just a basic example for you to get an understanding. This is not exactly using it yet. I just want to show you just a quick example. So if I were to run this, num divided, so if I 10 divided by 2, the remainder is 0, and that's true. I should get a true. Now I want to use the AND, right? But I want to use the AND with, I want to divide the num by 2 against 0 and checking it, is it also divided by 3 also 0? Obviously this is not going to be true, but let's try it out, right? Because 10 divided by 2 will give me a 0 remainder, but 10 divided by 3 will not give me a 0. That's a 1 remainder, right? So it's not going to give me a true. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an AND operator. So you see how I'm going to use the AND here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this into one bracket, and I'm going to use an AND operator, right? So num divided by 2 equals to 0. And at the same time, I'm going to evaluate another operation, which is num modulus 3. It's a modulus 3 by 2. And then I'm going to close the print function. It's going to be false, because I'm checking 2. I'm checking this and this and this, right? So that's what this AND operator can do. Similarly, I can do an OR. So the same thing. Num operator here. And I'm going to do this as an OR. I'm going to paste this here. I'm going to divide this. Not divide this. Pipe and the divide sign very similar, right? Yeah. This is this or that. So as long as one is true, the outcome will be true. If that makes sense, let's run this. Yes, it's true. Absolutely correct. Okay, let's do a quick NS check. So in Singapore, there's this thing called national service. You have to serve national service if you're a male. If you are male and if you are 18 years old, you have to serve NS. So we just do a quick NS check. Require user to put in two values. First value is age, second value is gender. Assign a variable age with input for age, similar for gender with input for gender. And assign a variable result with bitwise operator between age more than or equals to 18 and gender is male. Then you display the result as true if that is the outcome. So this take 5 minutes, try this out, and I'll go through with you after this. Okay, so how this works is very simple. We just have to set age first equals to, okay, let me do the integer because age has to be a number, right? If I put it as a string, I can't compare. Please enter age. Simple. Please enter gender. So gender is not an input. It's an input. It's not an integer. So please be careful when you gender. Please make sure you do not put it as an integer. It will throw an error. After that, result. Okay, so this is where it gets tricky. All you have to do is just do 2 brackets. Age has to be more than equals to 18. That's the first assessment. And second assessment is AND. It's not an OR. It's an AND condition, as I told you. Gender has to be equals to male. So then it will return a true. So you print a result. So I'm going to run this twice. First, let's run this. So it's unmatched. sorry, let me, okay. First, I'm going to enter 18 and male. That's the most, oh, sorry, it's going to throw me an error because my male here is not in the correct form. It should be male as in equals to male in strings, right? So let's try it again. 18, gender, male. It's true, you have to serve NS. Now let's say, try something else. Let's try 10 years old and male. False, you don't have to serve NS when you are 10 years old. Obviously, when it's higher, you have to serve, but obviously the person might have already served. Right. Let's try female instead. Let's say 18 and female. False again. So this is how it works. So you know your bitwise operator is working. Okay, we've come to the end of lecture 4. Yeah, please go through this lecture again if you feel it's not easy to follow, right? And I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye.